so many benefits of employing autistic individuals, and if you get an interview, it's like you're unsuccessful. Why does it have to be this way? And also, what's bad? 84% are not in full-time work. Now that's not right, is it? Think about it. How would you feel if you were discriminated against your disability? Employers, please take this message seriously and employ people with autism. Thank you.
I think autistic young people tend to do exactly as they're asked, and they'll do the job exactly as it should be done, rather than a young person who might be on the phone or messing about.
Their brains are tuned differently to ours, and they see different things to us, and also they're a lot more free in their expression. And I think that an organisation were to employ a young person with autism or a disability, then the whole company will benefit from having that young person working within that environment.
When you do employ them, they're going to stick to what you've asked them to do. They're very meticulous in what they do, and it has to be perfect.
The autistic spectrum needs is going to vary depending on what their individual needs are. They might be very good at the tasks which they've been asked to do, but can struggle with some of the social interactions. Other people, it can be negotiating with employers about how to make adjustments for what the individual needs. The Access to Work grant is a government grant to support people with a range of disabilities in the workplace, and it's available for people with autism, and it's used for either making adaptations to the workplace, giving people support. For example, it can be used for getting computer equipment which is accessible for people. It can be used for getting software involved, so if someone struggles with typing, you can get speech-to-type software put in. So there's all sorts of things it can be used for, like working with an individual to see how the environment can be changed to make it more suitable for them, trying to get to understand that sometimes that people's social and communication issues, people aren't necessarily deliberately being rude or obstructive. It's just that sometimes people with autism can communicate in a way which people without autism can find slightly difficult.
It's actually understanding a bit about the individual, what are the strengths, how do they learn, what are they like in different situations, and what's the best ways in which we can work with them. Have they got any particular needs or considerations that we need to bear in mind when we're working alongside them?
Instead of verbally telling them the task, show them.
For some people with autism, having sound of colleagues talking all around you can be really distracting. One organisation has put filters above the strip lights, so it just brings the tone of the lighting down. During the interview process, I think if employers can make sure that they ask questions where it's very clear what they're looking for, because sometimes people report that they've been asked ambiguous questions or questions where they've been asked something but the interviewers are looking for something else. So for example, somebody I've been supporting was asked, have you ever worked in a team? Which they said yes. But what the interviewers were looking for was, can you give us an example of when you've worked in a team and what you've contributed? That's what we were really asking, but the question was interpreted in a very literal way. It's also making sure you're asking one question per question, because again, there's examples where people have been asked 3 questions in one. By the time we got to the end, you forgot what the third part is. Specialist Autism Services allows all candidates to bring in a sheet of notes, so if people have prepared notes for the interview, they can bring the notes in. So you're not having to again be remembering all the detail.
I think it's about the organisation being aware and understanding the needs of people with autism. So then at the interview stage, at the application stage, they can make adjustments so that people with autism can be treated favourably within that process. So that's about using clear language in your job adverts, for example. It's about having application forms that are easy to understand, don't have obscure kind of language in them. A good interview process should be about letting the person that's there demonstrate the best of their ability. basically. So it's about understanding that at the start. So it's not about trying to catch people out, it's about letting people demonstrate how they're going to be a good employee, how they're going to fit the role. In terms of working with people with autism, sometimes that's about understanding some of the things that they might need. So they might not be quite sure about how long or how short an answer to give. They may answer some things very literally. So I was reading an example today about asking someone about how did they find their last job, and they may say, well, I found it in the paper. Whereas what we're really asking is, how did you get on? What did you like about your last job? What did you do well? What was difficult?
I think interviews for any person is really difficult. So having an interview for a young person with autism, I think it really needs to be thought about very carefully. And I think if they have that conversation, even if they have it over email before the interview, just to say what's expected of them, what's going to happen, how many people are going to be in the room, what the room looks like, that just gives a bit of an overview to the young person. And so when they turn up for the interview, they're not faced with things that they're not aware of.
A lot of interviews are done across a table, so you might have 6 people sat in front of you and you're sat there. I think it would be better if it was like a circle, or only a couple of people interviewing in the first instance, because I think for any young person it's quite daunting. So for someone who's got their own anxieties, I think they need a different way of interviewing.